Someone brought this up last video about e-dating, and I don't even know if the story I told last episode was they were dating online. It's kind of presumptuous to say so. The comment goes, why do people still e-date even though it's mentally unhealthy and is a giant fallacy? And he mentions gaming after, which I say like 95 times a year that I don't play video games like that. You know what I'm saying? The background footage takes like a chore on me to record. I actually think the game is like Pokemon, but it's like mental illness. Pokemon. It's at least bearable. It's not a bad game. Anyway, now here's the thing about e-dating. There's a negative stigma about it, which is justified because most of the time they fall apart. Rather, it's a waste of time to the point where people may even say online relationships just aren't real. It's a mental trap because you fall for something that can easily be disregarded. Now, my personal experience, the past two relationships I've been in, I've met my partners. One doesn't even live in America. Every time I mentioned, oh, my girlfriend lives in London, people be like, Shrekky? I don't know how you could do that. I need physical touch. And they'll say that to me. That's okay if they feel that way. It doesn't bother me about distance as much because I'm somebody who needs a lot of space. Some of you watching may need physical intimacy very often. I don't really need it like that. Growing up, I dated just a little bit in middle school, but after like ninth grade, I was always on my computer. I stopped caring about that stuff. Having a relationship right after high school in real life, like I gotta say it like that, I had a real life relationship after high school. It wasn't too bad, but I still needed my space. I remember she would just drive to my house and just do classwork on my bed while I was on the computer the whole time, just doing my own thing. We didn't even talk all the time. Just being in each other's presence was enough. I don't want to be bothered and we can respect each other's space. And so when you say it, that it's mentally unhealthy, we have to add context to this. Is it mentally unhealthy somebody is attached to someone at a far distance? Per se, long distance relationship. I would think if your psyche prioritized physical separation being an issue, yeah, perhaps it is unhealthy for you. I live in New York City, right? My ex, she lived in New Jersey. I would spend about 1 to 2 hours in a car ride, depending on the traffic, to get to her place. New Jersey is right next to New York, right? But the traffic there is crazy. But to get home, it was another 1 to 2 hour drive. So essentially, I would spend 2 to 4 hours picking her up and bringing her to my place. The distance never bothered me except the traffic part. In the relationship, nothing bothered me about the relationship in the whole besides the traffic. I never even thought about breaking up with her because the traffic was crazy. But I'll tell you why it didn't bother me that much. Even though, again, because we communicated often. We trusted each other and made plans for future visits all the time. We're not only, remember I said we communicate often, we talked every single day. Then I'll just be like, hey, can I come see you this weekend? Or something like that. See, that's the thing about e-dating. People don't trust each other online, naturally. Not to mention, it can bring anxiety when you don't really know what someone is like in person. That girl in New Jersey, I met her online. We played Overwatch and we started e-dating. And I said, I'm finna pull up one day. And we spoke every day, we made plans, and then I pulled up. Oftentimes, people get into these online relationships and they can't financially afford seeing each other. Again, another thing that can give you anxiety. So I agree with this take here from the comment. It is mentally unhealthy if it doesn't become something that could be reached. So this ends up becoming what people say that e-dating isn't real dating. Online relationships aren't real. But promises can be made, right? I had a friend who was talking to this girl for like 2.5 years and they never met. But they hung out every single day and moment. I couldn't find them in voice chat or playing games separately ever. They were always together. They would make plans about meeting eventually, but they're both broke. So they'll just push it to later. They were like best friends and lovers at the same time. He would rant to me or tell me stories about it. Like, I don't see how there's a problem here. They're both happy. However, again, they communicated consistently and enjoyed hanging out with each other. It's not necessarily evil or bad if they communicate it and feel this way. I've e-dated quite a handful of times. And I will say at a certain point, I stopped e-dating or even bother with people who I don't see it possible of me physically being there with them. You know, like it, that's just my personal take on that. Uh, my trips to London and her trips to New York City were so limited, but we kept it good because we spoke every day, and it often led to nonstop conversations during the day. It was like not just about romance, it's about you're my best friend and we're willing to just talk about random things the whole day. And I think what people need to consider is that everything I'm saying right now about communication and just being attentive is no different than a real life relationship. If you can't do either of those things properly, communication and just be attentive, it has nothing to do with someone being on the internet. People are just blaming stereotypical situations like an online relationship but it does make sense. Look, if you're online dating, there's a high chance that you may have social anxiety anyway, or you're just not good speaking to people in public or approaching people in public to where you can, socialize and meet them and grant yourself an opportunity to potentially date someone who you find attractive. You know what I'm saying? Hence why you make more friends online than you do in person, or you got no real friends in person, but a bunch of online friends. That's kind of what it's like for many people who spend their social life on the computer or on their phone or on Discord. And just because you type to a lot of people, it doesn't mean you are capable of properly social engineering a relationship online or in person. When your social life isn't fulfilled in a way you want it to be, you might get desperate sometimes. These moments of desperation have you going around trying to date people online who you're not really into, or you wouldn't even truly want to be around. This is where the mental trap comes in. Loneliness creates clinginess. I always felt like, and maybe I'm the only one here, when e-dating couples party together in like a game and you can tell that they're e-dating, I feel like that be stressing lonely people out. I'm not, listen, for if you do that and you're watching this video, I'm not trying to say like you're a bad person, but I feel like lonely people just be looking at that stuff. You see people with matching avatars hop into a game and you're a lonely gamer and you're just like, damn, I'm here playing solo and this guy playing this game I'm enjoying. He got somebody to fix his loneliness, or you know what I'm saying? Like I be feeling bad for those people. My friend and I, we would match names on Dota 2. We weren't e-dating though, obviously. And whenever we would do that, people would just be so mad and start saying wild stuff because people would think I was a girl. That's going to encourage them to either start e-dating themselves. That they're like, oh, well, this must be normal. Or, man, I just wish I had somebody too. They're going to start e-dating themselves, or they're going to sit there mad the whole time. I mean, can you imagine playing video games all day and getting no coochie? Like, literally not even virtual coochie? But who truly cares, honestly, if that's the case, right? But you know who does care about that? People who are lonely. They then get desperate and start joining these e-dating servers. I've actually never been inside one. I hear about it all the time. But to me, that's almost like Tinder, or using like an app like Hinge, or I guess for some of you, Grindr. Listen, by the way, for anyone here who has used a dating app before, you be getting matched with people like somewhat at a distance from you, which is fine to some of you. But the mentality of people on these dating apps or Discord servers, you got to imagine what their headspace is like. They're on a service or Discord server where they can pick and choose people like it's a starter Pokemon. I'm going to make a whole other episode of the Aku anime about this, but just briefly, people who will be like, I need a relationship type of headspace. 90% of these people have standards way too high for themselves. They be like, I want a guy who is 6'4", an 8-pack, have a career earning of like $500,000 a year, did time in prison because I be liking them bad boys, and he got tatted up from the neck down. Like, oh, he got to be Christian too. Like, bruh, like, okay, like, why so specific? Then you realize why you can't get into a relationship. I mean, look, I'm speaking in a feminine inflection, right? Or is that the right word? I don't even know if that's the right word. But listen, guys be doing that to girls too, though. There's nothing wrong, fellas, with dating an ugly girl. I always praise the BBWs. Get yourself a good BBW. She cooked like heaven on earth. And that's what's so crazy too, because guys and girls will be so picky about their options and then check their phone every morning and then realize they got no more than $70 in their bank account. You know how unimportant romance is when you don't even got yourself something stable? But this isn't irrelevant to the topic, by the way, like, because Mr. $70 in his bank account starts e-dating someone and then you can't pay for the flight. Have you checked the gas? Seriously, you got a card to with gas money as well? Like, you better ride a bike across the country to see your e-girl, and imagine you get catfished after that. Man, you rode your bike for 8 hours across the country. You got catfished. At least you got your legs worked out, but your heart is gone. It's just the priority system in the e-dating community is really weird. And no, I don't feel like e-dating is. I don't feel like it's mentally unhealthy. I think if you feel that way, you aren't really thinking about how basic social interactions are just as important on the internet. And by the way, exaggerating and speaking for everyone else and calling it unhealthy because you have specific needs and standards does not make it a giant fallacy, nor does it make you correct. Just because something doesn't apply to you doesn't mean everyone else suffers the same way. Like how I said, I don't like gaming like that. Some of you may be in shock by that. I can't explain it. It's just not as fun. Doesn't make gaming overall trash. Everyone has their preferences and what makes them happy. There are hundreds, underestimating for sure, of e-dating couples right now, or simply long distance relationships where people are genuinely happy. They have their space. They communicate very consistently. They share hobbies together, like maybe watching movies or gaming or anything. And, if that makes you happy, who are we to say that it's a fallacy? The experience of dating is very inconsistent with many people. I know people who got into e-dating and it's always been a bad experience. I've had mixed experiences personally. Some have been good, some have been bad. If I could make a suggestion for those who are watching this video thinking about online dating, or maybe you had a bad experience and maybe you even think about using dating apps. My first piece of advice, and this may sound weird, but if you two have a common goal or shared interests, work on a project together. Like, for example, let's say you both play Overwatch. I'll use my own example here about how I met my ex, right? I don't know if the ranks are still the same in Overwatch 2, because I only played Overwatch 1. There's like Grandmaster or something, right? If you remember in the super old videos, you remember I was top 500 for a while, and I was nice on Sombra, really good with her. I have yet to play Overwatch 2 though. But my ex and I, every night she would come home from work, and our project was to work together to get to master. We were grinding out ranks. We were both stuck in diamond, and that was our project every night. Overwatch. Then we would grind out. You know what I'm saying? That's a common goal. That's what helped us build a bond. Forget gaming like that. It could be done with something lighter, like working out. That's not fun. All right. But let's say you want to lose weight together or something like that. I don't know. Many different things can be creative here, and goals don't have to be mutual. You can support someone else's goal. My recent ex, she was really supporting me with music. I would be on Discord. I would screen share all the time while I'm recording music. And she would tell me what she didn't like. She would tell me what she liked, why I can change, and so forth. And that was fun for us because we would talk about random things, spending time together. Yo, this is why Minecraft is like the ultimate e-dating game, bro. That game is literally designed. My bad, y'all. Listen, one day. That game is literally designed to be about working on projects together. My second piece of advice, updates. It may sound too clingy for some of you, but hear me out here. I'm the type of person who I'll just send a message and be like, hey, I'm going to go drive to the store. I'm a grown man. You don't need to know that I'm going to the store. That got nothing to do with you, right? You know what I'm saying? Or you don't need to know that, but I'll send it to her. Like, I'm just going to go for a walk with my dogs, or I'll just send a picture of me and the dogs walking. Those type of moments are very important. The little details during the day, even if it's negative. Man, I just got in an argument with my mama, bro. And I'll just rant to you about it. I expect the same in return because that's what makes it even more important. It creates a sort of everyday moment together. That's like the best feeling too. This update advice I'm suggesting like right now, this has kept me above water in many online relationships. Just being 100 with y'all here. I don't always do goals together. Sometimes I'll do it. Like we'll play Minecraft for a week and then get bored of it. I'm sure you guys know what I'm talking about if you ever did that with Minecraft. Minecraft be fun with like a bunch of friends or with somebody for like a week or two, and then you just abandon it, you know. And now we have no projects to work on or care about right now, but we'll talk and give updates. It's like we're very comfortable right now. My final suggestion, conscious of where and when. You got to know scheduling. E-dating obviously happens from long distances. Different countries or other parts of your current area in America, time zone, sleep schedule, that's important too. You want to be able to send the right messages at the right time period. You know, I'm not going to, or somebody's not going to want to engage in a conversation right when they wake up or right when they're about to go to sleep. Not everyone can set their own schedule for this, but you know what I mean. Anyway, look, again, I haven't had the best experiences myself. The past 2 relationships have been something I met in real life. Obviously, I said past 2 relationships. So, you know, sometimes they just don't work out. And I know why they didn't work out. It wasn't because we were e-dating, you know, like things just happened to just not work out for other reasons. And that's part of life though. You know, relationships just don't work out. And, but sometimes they do. And I realized that it's more important for me to meet someone who I know I could talk to more personally. And even let's say whoever's watching and listening to this video, you're on a dating app right now. Don't even waste your time getting attached to people who you know you're not even going to feel like something is going to be real with them. You know, does this make sense? In the past, I didn't think about that all the time. I just got attached and that was it. Especially when I didn't have my own foundation. I've dated people who I could have, or I've crushed on people who I could have seen in real life. If I had the money, if I had the means of transportation. But at that time period, I wasn't doing well, you know. I remember crushing on this one girl who I would play TF2 with. She lived in New York City. I also lived in the city, but she was never in the same area as me in the city. And I couldn't afford to get a taxi or an Uber. I mean, just take the train, right? But I can't even take her out to dinner. She was working a job that paid so well. I felt like a bum. It was so embarrassing. And what really got me is this one time she said that she met this guy, right? And they started like dating. And she would brag about how well dressed he was. He was always wearing like a suit and something like that. I didn't even have a suit. I couldn't afford a suit. Like, you know what I'm saying? And what he did for work. And it was so unique. I forgot what he did. But she still made more money than him. But it was like he was stable. I was not. Sometimes you got to take care of yourself. Distance won't even matter at times, if that makes sense. Anyway, watch the sun bleed. It's our time to go out while we watch the sun down. Watch the sun down. Watch the sun down. Watch the sun down, down, down. I got what I asked for, but I think it's never mine. We try to shine our own way, but the stars are not aligned. Laser on the heat, best bet you better hide. Said to do what's best, now my thoughts are on the climb. Take a trip with me, we can share confessions. What's next for us? That's a loaded question. You go first, you have the best expressions. I'm looking up, now I see a dark sky heaven. Watch the sun bleed, it's our time to go out. While we watch the sun down, silent guy forever peace, now there's no doubt. While we watch the sun down, fears or hopes are gone, we don't know what that's about. While we watch